Inspiration Station. Manx Radio.
Women Today. Faster, good afternoon. It is Friday and this is Women Today on Manx Radio with me, Beth Espy.
And me, Christy DeHaven.
And thank you very much to Stu and Catherine for Talking Heads. They will be back at midday on Monday. But on today's show, so often nowadays, young people come under fire for being self-obsessed, for lacking direction and for not really caring about what's going on in other parts of the world. But since this programme started, we have met countless people who utterly dispel those preconceptions. And today's guest is going to blow them out of the water because Lula Brown is just 9 years old. She is already a tireless and dedicated fundraiser, and we'll be finding out more about that in just a moment. But Lula, I am intrigued by the fact that you describe yourself as basically a spaniel. Why is that?
Because my dad calls me a mud magnet and a water magnet, which is where if there's water, I'm already in it by the time you've seen it. And the same goes with mud.
Dad Alex is here. Hello there.
Hello.
So that's a perfect description of her, really, is it?
Absolutely, yes. We have to take spare clothes with us most places we go.
Well, Lula, I talked about the fact that you are a fundraiser, which is an incredible thing to be able to describe you at just the age of 9. When did you start wanting to raise money for people who are less fortunate than you?
About 2 years ago.
And what was it that made you want to do that?
Well, at my school, we got free choice, which is where you can do stuff like go on the computers, play outside in the water, and of course I went outside and played in the water. And we made up, and the whole class went outside, made up this game where there were 2 teams, and they chose me to be one of the team captains. And we decided to call ours Gush Gush because it sounds like water gushing. And then I went home and said, I'm going to make my own charity called Gush Gush. And then I just and then my mum showed me a few videos. One was of a girl who woke up without clean water, and she was wearing nothing like we would wear in the Isle of Man, and she had to go and fetch the water from a dirty lake, and then go to school and put her bottle down where they would normally put them down, and then this person switched the water to clean water instead of dirty water, and then the girl drank it and was so happy, and it just changed her whole life technically.
And you actually made a video, didn't you, that sort of describes that. Tell us about your scientist video.
Well, so it's called Madame Scientist on my website, which is, if you go to www.gushgush.strikingly.com, you'll find one of the videos. It's called Madame Scientist, and it's where I'm pretending that I'm a scientist, and I say, this is our water, and it's perfectly normal. And then I go to the other side of my kitchen table, and I have loads of stuff that I've collected from my back garden. Stuff like guinea pig poo and all gross stuff.
Like dead flies.
Yeah.
There's some cobwebs, weren't there, that went in?
Cobwebs, yeah.
Rotting strawberries. And I put all of them in and said, this is what theirs is like. Most of them die, and it kills more people than any act of violence, including war. And I know that from Charity Water, which is the charity I'm funding for. And because Gush Gush isn't a charity yet, I do it for Charity Water, and I got to meet the founder of Charity Water in London in a cafe. And they put a VR headset on me, and I went to Ethiopia, and I saw this girl who had no clean water. Her mum had already died from the clean water before the clean water got there, and I was quite moved by that. So, yeah.
That's incredible.
Why did you go and see Scott Harrison, Lula?
Because he asked me to just meet him in a restaurant for breakfast.
So the guy from the charity actually contacted you. Is this because he'd seen what you were doing and he was impressed by you?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Alex, when we were talking just before we came on air, I did say to Lula, are you sure you were just 9 years old? Because listening to her talk, honestly, is just absolutely incredible. Where would you say this drive in her, this passion to help other people has come from?
Well, I think two places really. We've always tried to help Lula to know that if she sees something that's wrong with the world, she can make a difference and she can do what she thinks she wants to do. So initially you wanted to take water out on planes, didn't you, and give it to them. So we kind of said, well, you can't really take water on planes. It doesn't really work. But what can you do? And so we helped Lula think through all the things that she can do. So, and then we just helped her to make that happen, really. And we leave it with you, don't we, Lula? So if there's like 6 months you don't mention Gush Gush at all, we don't bring it up. And then when you're like, actually, no, Gush Gush is important, then we go back to it.
Yeah.
And your personal faith has got something to do with it as well, hasn't it, Lula? Yeah.
And you've been very involved, actually, haven't you, Alex, with Lula? So, for instance, you've been doing the videos with her, and you just mentioned the scientist video, which I have to say, having watched it, I think it's one of the best depictions of what it's actually like for people out there, and that idea where you put the straw in the nasty water and you're about to drink it, and it does make you think, oh, don't drink that, and then you realise it's so well depicted. But you do get involved in the videos as well, don't you, Alex? And
yeah.
You have to talk about the most recent one because it's so entertaining.
The most recent one. So Lula decided on the beginning of it. What happens at the beginning of the video, Lula?
I'm carrying... No, that's before... No, after.
Yeah, you say you want a drink of water, and what do you do?
Yeah, and then I pick up a container and I walk out of my back garden, and then we switch it to a forest that I walk into, and I try to hardly even notice the camera, but I find it a bit irresistible sometimes.
Yes, you do, don't you?
Yeah. And so I walk through the forest, and it kind of shows you the journey that they might have to do, and then I go to this stream, and I've heard my dad say some people might think that I'm just gonna get the container in and fill it up, but I actually get in the water. And that's why we brought a spare change of clothing. Yeah,
so that's all Lula's idea. And then the second bit, which is like, how can you raise money for your Project 10, which is what you want to do at the moment, isn't it? So we thought of a number of disgusting and funny ideas. So one is a cake bake, so she gets covered in flour. One's sitting in the bath full of beans and they all drop on your head. One's a bike ride, so you fall off your bike like 6 times, don't you?
Yeah.
There's a definite theme here, Lula, of you getting dirty. Just explain to us what Project 10 is.
So you get one person or your friend to gets 10 people to give you £10, and then all that £10 goes to Gush Gush.
And you only need 80 people to do that, and you've raised all the money you need for a whole water project, haven't you?
Yeah.
And you've been, just to sort of describe what you've been doing and what this would mean, getting this money to cover a whole village, isn't it? A whole village worth of people. You've been doing assemblies, haven't you, to sort of show what you want to do. Tell us about some of the assemblies you've been involved with.
So recently, about 1 year ago, Madam Scientist went out live in one of my assemblies that I did with my dad. And the children, I revealed myself afterwards, and some of the receptions were like, because they didn't know it was me, so I heard some of them gasp.
And again, she's such a good stage manager. So the video, she tells me what music she wants in the background, and if it's not right, she tells me it's not right and I have to do it differently. So you wanted Indiana Jones this time, didn't you?
Yeah, because it's funny but adventurous.
And for the assembly, you said, right, so you interview me to start with, Dad, then we'll pull a big screen down and I'll get changed and I'll come out from behind the screen and you distract them for 2 minutes while I get changed. And we did everything you wanted, didn't we?
Yeah.
And it worked really, really well.
So you really know how to get your message across and how your friends might react to it, which is brilliant. And one thing we were talking about before you came into the studio was an assembly you did where you used the children in the audience to show. Tell us a little bit about that.
So I got about 110 people to stand up in my school, and only about 10-year-olds were like sitting there because they hadn't been told to stand up, and they were like, "What am I doing? What is going on?"
And why was it 110 people?
Because that's how many people I've saved the lives of.
Absolutely brilliant. Just amazing. What do your friends think of what you're doing then?
So this morning I was showing my friend Sophia Wilkinson one of the stories that I've made recently, which isn't to do with Gush Gush. It's something else to do with something else. And then I told her what I'm going to be doing this afternoon and evening, and she went, "I am so lucky to have a friend like you."
Oh, that's gorgeous. You mentioned stories. You actually wrote a book, didn't you?
Yeah.
Which then, and you sold a lot more copies than you thought you would.
Yeah, because first of all, my dad said, "Let's get 10 in to start with." And then after about 2 days, they all sold out, even when they were £10. And the bottles I've recently been selling were £1. I haven't sold as many as my books.
How many books have you sold now?
About 103.
300, I think. Is it 300?
300, yeah.
300 books.
My goodness me, Lula, you are absolutely incredible. And there is a concert happening tonight, which is
Yes.
a fundraising concert. And a friend of the show, I'm going to call him that, Simeon Wood, who was on the programme earlier this week, absolutely incredible. He's going to be there tonight. What's
Yeah.
happening?
He's going to be playing the flute along with me and my mum and Ruth Keggin singing Ellen Vannin. And one part of it is in Manx, which I'm going to sing.
She did sing a little bit for me in the other room. How would you feel about singing a little bit for us now?
Okay.
Yay! Will you do it in Manx for us too?
Yeah.
She's going to put us to shame, Beth.
I
She
know.
is.
Well, I think she already has with everything she's been saying. Okay, take it away then, Lula.
Tretan les ari ek jera, as in mechen le asul, mish mohoi phone arrow legan, slimmer loma kanaski, este giri go resh slash flesh, Sajin ganas du chasa, je hi no Ellen Vannin, lesh green glass ari shachi.
Absolutely brilliant. And you've got something exciting happening with Ruth soon, haven't you?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
I'm gonna release a single which is gonna be maybe £3, and it'll be released in about 2 weeks.
And is that Ruth singing with you?
Yes.
Fantastic. And I believe Matt Creer's involved as well.
Yes. And
Wow.
my mum.
Wow.
Lula, are you sure you're 9? I'm not convinced. I am not convinced. Alex, I can't imagine what it's like as a father, sort of sitting here listening to your daughter, who is just incredibly eloquent, doing amazing things already, and her future must be incredibly bright. I know you do embarrass her sometimes, though.
Oh, absolutely. And she hates me saying that I'm proud of her. She's like, "Dad, don't say you're proud of me, particularly on the radio." But I am so proud of her. And she's making faces at me now.
So where can, if people want to get involved with Project 10, then how can they do that? What's the best way for them to do that?
Just contact me on my website, which is www.gushgush.strikingly.com, and you can go onto my website and you can donate, and you can see how along the way I am to my target. I'm about 38.
Yeah, 38%
Yeah,
of the way there.
38% of the way to the full project.
And you've got to try and raise the money. Is it before Christmas? You need
That's
to
right. Yeah.
Yes.
So from the website, you can get to your Facebook page, and you can get to an auction page. There's an online auction in a couple of weeks as well, with amazing stuff. And you can see, well, you can see everything's there, isn't it? Everything's on the website.
And lots of ideas for how you can raise money as well. I have to ask you, because this is something we were talking about earlier on in the week about young people now, about what they want to be when they grow up. Do you know what you want to be when you grow up, Lula?
Well, hence my little sister, when I'm just being myself around the house and I try and hug her, she either yells, "Ow!" and when I haven't even touched her, I just technically posed to hug her, or she just laughs and runs at me, but then runs around me instead of gives me a hug. Or she screams, "No!" and runs away.
But that's not the question.
I know.
What do you want to be when you get older?
Well, because I've been quite funny recently, she's actually given me hugs because I've made her laugh so much. I might be a comedian or a clown, but I wouldn't have the makeup on, maybe. No,
And you're thinking about being a presenter as well, aren't you?
Lula, you're going to be able to do whatever you want. There is absolutely no doubt about that. And we get lots of texts in from listeners who say your singing was incredible and just listening to you speak is just amazing. So keep your thoughts coming in on that 166 177, or you can email studio@manxradio.com. I hear as well you can do an amazing goat sound.
Oh no. Go on. It's like a
Do it
dying
again.
goat.
That is amazing. Do that one more time.
You're listening to Women Today on Manx Radio. It's 23 minutes past 2.